Thanks for joining me on this journey of joy, grief, and authenticity. My name is Hilarie Houghton, and in this episode, I want to talk about the power of a name, specifically the power of saying the name of your loved one who has passed on. I gave birth to a sweet baby girl named Hollis Olivia Houghton in May, and she had a fatal genetic disorder, and she lived 6 days. And I'll never forget how important her name always was and still is to me. We found out we were having a girl when we live streamed our gender reveal on Facebook with our friends and family watching, and found out it was a girl, and I was so shocked and so excited. I had really just believed that it was going to be a boy, and wouldn't even let myself be tempted by the idea of having a little girl. And although the next night I woke in the middle of the night, thinking, oh my gosh, it's a girl. What if she's rebellious? What if she's promiscuous? I was so worried, and I couldn't get back to sleep, so I started looking online at girl names. And I was looking on Pinterest. We hadn't been able to really secure a girl's name that we felt mutually agreed upon. And the boy's name had come to us so quickly, but the girl's name, we just couldn't quite get it. And I found Hollis on Pinterest. I love the name Hollis. I expected to hear it for the rest of my life. I expected to hear it every single day. I even imagined what it would be like for friends and family to just say things like, yes, Hilarie's coming and she's bringing Hollis. Hilarie and Hollis. And I love that. And you can see I'm here in her room right now. This name actually on the wall is what was created by some of our friends, Nelson, Casey, and Catherine, made it by hand. And the name means dweller among holly trees. And a fun fact about that is that when my mom came to visit me this summer after Hollis had passed, we spent a week together, and we went and bought a bunch of holly bushes, and we planted them all along the outside of our house. And I love knowing that Hollis means dweller among the holly trees, because I dwell among the holly trees, and I like to think that there's a little part of her that is being remembered here and is here with us. Think about if you were to buy a gift for somebody and you want it to be really special. What are you going to do? You might buy something and put their name on it. That's how it becomes customized. Think about why we have Coca-Cola bottles all over the place with our names on it. Because it's powerful and we like it and it feels good. And it gives you an identity and it makes your identity mean something. Over the Christmas season, I had the honor of creating a stocking for Hollis. And the stockings in my family, most of them all have somebody's name on it. And so I wanted to be able to put Hollis's name on a stocking and hang it up with all of her cousins and her aunts and uncles. And that to me was really important in honoring her in the holiday season. Having a birth certificate, a death certificate, a social security card. I have a social security card with her name on it. Those were all things that validated her existence. They validated that she was here and she was a person, and the United States of America has identified her. It also made me think about just the bills and the claims that came through from the hospital and the insurance company, and how I was looking through all of them, and so many of them listed her as baby girl Houghton. And that just wasn't going to cut it for me. I really needed something more solid. I needed them to acknowledge that she was a person and she had a name. And so I called them all and told them to put the claims in her name. And they were very kind and happy to oblige. Now it's a scary name. Now it's a name that people aren't quite so sure if they should say it, if it'll upset me. And I'm sometimes afraid if I should say it, if I'll upset somebody, whether it's a colleague or a family member or Jamin even. sometimes it's just difficult to know if you're going to strike a chord with somebody or even just make them uncomfortable. I was at a women's retreat over the summer and was with some friends, and we were talking about the different names of Jesus, and we talked about him being our provider and our healer and so many other things. And I started thinking about, if Hollis's name makes my heart skip a beat, do you think that God feels the same way when we say Jesus' name? Because he asks us so many times in Scripture to use Jesus' name and to do things in Jesus' name. And it was something I could identify with right away, is that there's a lot of power in Hollis's name for me, and there's a lot of power in Jesus' name. Think about how powerful a name is for a person who has lost their spouse. When I think of amazing couples in my life, I always go back to my Grandpa Joe and my Grandma Doris. It's Joe and Doris. There was never Joe without Doris or Doris without Joe. It was the two of them. And I imagine how hard it is when a couple is separated by life, and how you've created your identity as this couple, and a lot of times it's longer than your identity as an individual, and how hard it is to suddenly be without their name, or even for others to suddenly no longer use their name. When that was part of your identity, not only have you lost your loved one, but you've kind of lost your identity. At the end of the day, I think it is so powerful to use that person's name and to not shy away from it, because every time you say their name, you are honoring them and you are remembering them, and you are helping open the door so that people can tell stories about them and keep their memory alive. Thanks for watching this episode. I hope it was helpful for someone out there. And tune in again next week whenever I'll launch another episode of Joy, Grief, and Authenticity.